Criticism of Canada's digital ID is dismissed as based on misinformation. Dismissing criticism. So, in case you guys aren't aware how most of these governments work, usually when they want to implement something like a social credit system, they don't push it through right away. Like sometimes they try to hide that they're doing it, but usually there is a couple month period where the public can give their feedback on something. So, what the government's doing here is basically, oh, we're going to implement this and we look forward to hearing your feedback. And you give them criticism, and then their response is, oh, by the way, all criticism of what we're doing clearly comes from misinformation. Like, if you criticize this, you clearly have no idea what you're talking about, so we're just not going to listen to you. That's the message the government is sending. We know what's best for you. And even though we asked for your opinion, we know that if you disagree with us, it's just because you're misinformed. Because if you weren't misinformed, you would be all in with what we want to force on you. There's pushback in Canada against the introduction of digital ID programs, but proponents of these schemes are referring to criticism based on civil liberties and privacy concerns as digital ID misinformation. And in case you guys aren't aware of the modern day definition of the word, misinformation is something that's going to be considered truth in a few years. The reports to this effect are appearing, spurred by a petition launched by the Ontario Party that calls for zero tolerance towards the implementation of such programs in the province. At the same time, Identity North, which says it brings together Canadian global leaders to discuss the big ideas and innovations driving digital transformation, was holding its spring workshop. The petition, meanwhile, calls for the Legislative Assembly of Ontario to prevent the planned introduction of a comprehensive digital ID program that would centralize citizens' personal, financial, business, medical, and social information and assign each an ID number. If you think it's bad enough when you get your social security number hacked now, imagine how bad it's going to be when literally everything about you is tied to it. In view of the fact that Canada's central banks and others around the world also plan to introduce their own digital currencies, these would eventually also become part of digital IDs, the Ontario Party warned. And they've literally told us this to our face, that these digital currencies will allow them to control who gets to use money, who can hold how much money, what the money is allowed to be spent on. Is this the world you want? Where the government can arbitrarily decide what you are and are not allowed to spend your money on? Do you want this? Oh, I'm sorry, that's misinformation. And that in turn spells trouble for civil liberties and privacy rights, creating clear opportunities for abuse by authorities, the party believes. And you know it will be abused. This is the Western government's first foray into social credit. That's what this is. The same social credit score that the West has been pointing at China and using as a boogeyman. Look at what those Chinese are doing. They're implementing that social credit score. Oh, how horrible are they? And then they turn around and they're doing the same shit here while you're not looking. Now, I've always said we already have it here in the U.S., except it's social media enforcing it instead of the government. But don't worry, the government portion is coming up real soon. Surveillance and compelled behavior, the petition reads, with access to basic resources as a tool of coercion are ominous. They point towards progression into a dystopian communist Chinese-style social credit system. That is exactly what they want. Now, Canada is a country that is still smarting from the events earlier in the year where participants in peaceful protests got punished by the government by having their bank accounts frozen, among other punitive measures. And I loved the reaction to this. Like, everyone else just started pulling their money from the banks. Like, well, if you're going to do this, we're not going to trust you with our money. However, participants in the Identity North workshop who spoke for the local media don't seem to see any merit to worrying about having information critical to your entire life and livelihood accessible and controlled in a single centralized place. Centralization is the worst thing that can happen. I mean, look at the internet. The internet used to be decentralized in the past. Now it's very much centralized. And could anyone claim it's gotten better over the years? Anyone? To them, the problem is in finding and pushing the right message, better indoctrinating and better persuading people there's nothing to fear when it comes to digital IDs. Yeah, just like with Chinese social credit, there's nothing to fear. Yeah, as long as you are a good puppet of the government and you do everything you're told, you have nothing to fear. Citizens are said to be prone to misunderstanding what these schemes really are, while the government could assuage the fears by doing things like promising with a how we used your information statement, like a bank statement. There would be no nefarious data linking and profile building. Except we already know that this is a lie. We know what they really wants to do. Pushing more government digital services online lets people play around online, get used to using an online forum, and then you come in with, oh, now we can make it more private and secure. This is why we care. This is the idea presented by Colleen Bolden, director of New Brunswick's Digital Lab and Digital ID programs. Yeah, that's right, man. Just surrender all of your personal information over to us, so we can make your experience more private and secure. Nothing fishy about that whatsoever. Nah, I was about to say that, like, they really think we're stupid enough to fall for this. And then I realized most of the population is actually stupid enough to fall for this. And they will applaud thunderously as democracy dies.